He's always been my favorite player. He will always be my favorite player. There is no other than Granit Xhaka. I just want to let people know how consistent I've been about that throughout the years. Man of the match today. Unbelievable. And we're going to talk more about that and everything else. And in fact, he's not even my man of the match today, but I just had to profess my love for the one and only Granit Xhaka. And we'll hear from you on the first of the 2022 to 23 season Magic Open Mic shows on the Gooner Pod.
Once upon a time, way back when there were only 9,000 Arsenal podcasts, 5 young men from various backgrounds, an Irish kid with a horrible haircut, a young Jewish nerd who hadn't discovered food yet, a child from Hemel Hempstead who didn't want to be English no more, a handsome advertising magnate with impeccable judgment, and a young Mexican AC Milan fan hatched a plan to take over the world of Arsenal podcasts. But then these boys became men. Jared, Mikey, Ewan, Magic, and Andy. And the rest, my friends, is history. And now, all these years later, you tune in every so often to hear their incredible takes, their football knowledge, and their sensual advice. But now, it's gone too far. You, our fans, are at long last witness to season
7.
Welcome to the Gooners Pod.
Earphones, baby. What's up? Hello and welcome to the Gooners Pod, season 7, episode 48. You know, the 48th episode of the season is always a celebration. So who better to have on with me today? I don't even know if you can hear me right now.
I can.
Okay. It is the one and only Aston Mac from Orlando, Florida, with the best closet in Arsenal podcasting today.
Listen, first of all, let me know if I get an echo. I have earphones to fix that. But on point number 2, United get battered everywhere they go. United get battered everywhere they go.
Nothing like starting off an Arsenal podcast with a couple of the cockneyest people you can possibly meet. Me wearing my shirt backwards as I do occasionally, and the one and only Aston Mac.
You're lucky I'm wearing pants.
I mean, there is pants have never and will never be a requirement for this podcast. Diapers quite often can be, but not pants. I'm so happy you joined us. I've been thinking about you lately and about how like we had such an intense bromance for like 2 or 3 weeks this summer, and then like the last couple of weeks, I guess we've been in our own stuff, kind of. You know, now that the season started, I got my son getting ready to go to school, which is driving me crazy, in just the horror. I'm just not looking forward to it. I've got work that I finally dug back into. We've had the pod. I mean, it's like a week where I haven't seen you, and I miss you.
Listen, I miss you intensely. I'm a little disappointed, though. When you said that you'd been thinking of me, I thought we were about to have one of our moments because I've been having these wet dreams lately. I mean, absolutely normal dreams where you're not naked.
Of course, if you didn't have some level of fluid seeping out of your body during that Jesus goal in the first half, and the Martinelli goal, then I don't, then your body doesn't work properly. I'm a 50-year guy who my body doesn't work remotely properly, but that part, I've still got it. He's
saying you might need to take some Viagra or those hammer strokes or something. Something on you's not working if you didn't get up for that goal.
I've had priapism that started at the Chelsea game and hasn't stopped yet. So if you don't know what priapism is, look it up.
Listen. For those of you, we make a lot of jokes, but for those of you at home that are experiencing erections that last for over 4 hours because of Gabriel Jesus, please go see a doctor.
But make sure the doctor is a gooner. All right, so this is the open mic show, and Aston's agreed to kind of be my ride or die as he always is. So we're going to bring in the first open mic. We got a ton of different things that we can talk about today. We've got, as always, the starting 11. Although I have a feeling we don't have to spend that much time on it. The defense, who we can blame for some of the goals if we really have to go there, but. Look, it's the open mic show. You get to talk about what you want. You get to express your opinion how you want. And so first we're going to bring on someone who hasn't been on for a while, but he's going to discuss the performance. I hope he has no Brentford players in his fantasy Premier League team. Oh, he just went off camera. Thanks, Daniel, for your professionalism. He's been sitting back there the whole time. So now we're going to have to put him back in line. So Bill, AKA Goonerworks. See you in the chat a lot. We've got you now live on camera. Did the baby wake up from the nap because of your screaming or just because it was time?
No, I've gotten really good at some silent celebrations. But you better believe I was jumping all around the living room. What a game.
You've brought back a memory because I remember a lot like when our kids first actually started sleeping through the night was around the time that that I was watching Arsenal on a regular basis again after my hiatus. And, it was just like, you do get used to that.
Oh yeah.
And there's still a noise. There's just there's this noise, but it's not going to wake anyone up in the house. And as long as you're not on the level above them where you feel like you're about to crash through the floor, then it's perfect.
It's especially strange, right? Because we are only 2 games in and there have been 6 goals. So you must be going absolutely wild. How are you feeling right now, man?
I am ecstatic. I mean, I understood why Jesus didn't get his opening goal away from home. I'm just glad he saved it for in front of the fans. I mean, that first one, oh my gosh. Like I said, I've been practicing those silent celebrations, but I was this close to cracking. I mean, come on.
There's like a
little chip and everything.
That chip reminded me of, and then we saw a pass later that was just like this, but that reminded me of the whole Alexis thing where he wouldn't take a backswing. He just basically chipped it perfectly with zero backswing, and except this was on goal. And there was a lot of talk about whether it was deflected on the way, whether it kind of wrong.
Does it matter?
Pure. It doesn't matter, but it didn't, I don't think. I mean, it was pure, absolutely pure.
And I mean, that second goal, we've seen it so many times, even in preseason. Gabby Jesus, always on the back post. I mean, he's just there for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the positioning, I mean, that's a goal you don't know. Someone might have scored from last year, but it's just on a global basis, he is where he needs to be all of the time. And I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, do you want to pick one of the goals out and break? I mean, what do you think about Martinelli today? Because
I thought he absolutely deserved that goal. His work rate. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before, but I mean, he's just taking it up a level. I really expect him to have another breakout season this season. I'm hoping for double figures in both goals and assists. But I mean,
do you like? There's nothing better for me than when you see an incredible goal scored, and then when you watch the replay, because I'm not retaining any information from 4 seconds before. That's just not how my mind works. So I'm like, wow, that was an incredible finish from Martinelli. And then it occurs to me that he was the start of the play as well, breaking up play at right at midfield, and essentially following the play at a perfect pace until he was in the position to either lay off that final pass, which surely would have led to a goal, or take it himself. And I mean, that the starting and finishing, and we've seen Aubameyang in his glory time do that a bunch. That is peak Arsenal. That is the Arsenal that people fell in love with 20 years ago.
Absolutely, and you're seeing it from the whole team. You're seeing Xhaka back in that left-sided defense, and then all of these runs he was making today. I didn't know he had that in his arsenal.
So let me ask you something. Right? Because there's so much in this game we can unpack. I want to zero in on something, and we were talking about it. We were talking about Gabriel Jesus, and we brought up Martinelli too. How does that feel when you watch those two players together? I mean, they are absolutely electric. You might as well start. I don't know if we're going to be able to do away games in the Europa League because they're going to start calling them terrorists because they just terrorize the other team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, this whole front five, you're seeing them rotate into all sorts of different positions. You've got the.
I didn't think it would be you, Aston, that finally did us over.
Yeah, but you're seeing them there's so much energy and pace. You got to give props to Jesus because I mean, he's allowing us to, have that energy. You bring that into the center of the pitch where we just didn't have that last season. And yeah, just seeing that Xhaka, I mean, we all have our issues with him. I fully expect him to have one or two of those moments this season. I don't think that's ever going to go away, but he just seems to be he seems to be aging like fine wine for some reason. And it's just, he keeps getting a little better and better each season.
You know what I think it might be something to do with the team being better around him maybe forces him to do a little bit less, forces him into a position where he's going to be less mistake prone. If you watched All or Nothing, and if you didn't, we're just going to spoil it for you. That whole thing that we saw in the trailer of "I will take the blame," it was actually kind of a half serious thing, bit of frustration about having to take that penalty in which game was that? Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool.
Where he was the last guy back and pretty much
3v1.
kicked Jota in the chest. But he's been in positions, and because he goes into those positions and he does play hard, he finds himself in a position where he has to make mistakes. And if the players around him causing those scenarios to be less frequent helps us see a better Xhaka, then I'm all for it, because I've said it till I'm blue in the face. I have never slated Xhaka for his play. I've only really had issues with his personality and the relationship with the fans, and acknowledged that it's two-sided, and all the disclaimers I could possibly make. But I've said I just don't think he's handled it right. But today, I mean, 9 out of 10 for me if we're doing player ratings, and only short of being man of the match because of what Martinelli put together today.
I totally slate him for his play, but that's okay though, because
a lot of people do.
I think that one of the things that we can see with that partnership that we're starting to see form between Gabriel Martinelli and Jesus is an opening of space on that left side. And that opening of space, let's just face it, one of the things that Xhaka, I've been saying, he's not athletic, he can't turn all this, but he can pass a ball. Okay, that guy can stroke a ball with his foot, and that opening of space gives him so much more opportunity too. Do you worry at all that that Xhaka might overshadow Odegaard in that captain spot, Bill?
I don't think so. I think they're captains for a different reason. Xhaka is definitely the more outspoken. He's the one giving, the pep talks, like in that circle in the beginning of the game. He was the one, really giving that pep talk. Odegaard's the one who leads by example. He's the more, I guess you would call it PR friendly captain. He's the one that you want out there, given the interviews at the end of the game, media trained, all that good stuff, leads by example. You're not going to see him have a sort of Aubameyang like fall from grace, because he's just going to be working his ass off every second of the day. So
one thing I haven't picked up on, and Bill, we're going to move on to our next open micer after this, but the post-game interviews, one of the things that always bothered me about the Aubameyang captaincy was that we saw him occasionally after wins, almost never. I remember one time being amazed that we saw him after a loss. Is Odegaard giving the post-game? I mean, has he in these first 2 games, has he taken that role, or have they just in the mix zone, or have they still just kind of passing it around? I don't know how the media teams handle that. And I haven't, last week at the game, I was at the pub, which I'm going to bring up in a minute. And this week I just was too busy celebrating to watch any kind of post-game interviews. So,
I'm in the same boat. I can't tell you one way or the other whether or not he's been the one in those interviews, but you saw it all through preseason. He was the one, doing that media coverage. I mean, with our good friend Aston here.
they're buddies. I was the one sticking a microphone in his face.
Marty. My boy Marty.
I was the one sticking a microphone in Odegaard's face. Aston was the one just chilling with him at the bar.
No big deal. It's just
there's levels to this situation.
Listen, I love him. I love Odegaard. I love the energy. I love the amount of he knits the team together kind of behind the scenes. What I really am interested in is the way that this team is getting knitted to the fans. And after that after Xhaka scored that goal, which by the way, Xhaka scoring goals in the box, love to see it. You saw him come out, blow kisses, and form hearts at the fan. Does that repair? And does that mend the relationship maybe between did you I don't know how you personally felt about Xhaka, but do you think that he's finally come full circle where we can kind of try to bury some of the issues in the past, or is this just we're only doing this right now because we're excited because we're winning?
So personally, I was never one to. I've been more forgiving of him. That doesn't mean I haven't had my moments screaming at the television saying, get this guy out of our team. But at the end of the day, I've always appreciated what he does for the club. But I can totally understand fans who are just always, Xhaka out, we need to upgrade on him. I do think, it's kind of when the team's doing well, you just have an appreciation for, even some of the more controversial players. I don't think he's ever going to win over, 100% of the fans, but I do think he's going to be winning over probably more of the fans, especially with the all or nothing stuff. I think he's really going to be winning over some of the fans who were more on the fence about him.
It's a good place. It's a good place to try to repair, and scoring a goal, having a 9 out of 10 game, and showing the fans some love is not a bad way to at least to start that or to continue that, depending on how you look at it. Bill, we're going to bring in Fergus next because he's on the tube and we don't know how long we'll have him. I'm under the assumption he was at the game today. Bill, you're man of the match today and rating for that man.
Man of the match. I mean, I got to give it to Gabby Jesus. I mean, 2 goals, 2 assists. You can't ask for much more other than a hat trick on your opening.
Well, and he should have had it. So I'm all for selling him now. Try to get what we can for him because to miss an open goal like that is unforgivable.
I mean, with a performance like that, I think Man City might come knocking, wanting him back. But
295 million, and they can have him back. All right, man. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks.
Hope to see you next week.
See you.
Bye-bye. All right, Fergus. Let's see how long this lasts. Where exactly in the world is Fergus Keating?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Fergus. Fergus, the volume's way too low. We can't hear you.
Let me try something different.
All right.
Change me up a second.
I'm gonna give you a few minutes to recoup.
In the meantime, while we're having that time, Mike, would you go ahead and what happened? I saw the images on Twitter. It was it was all disturbing. Is everyone okay?
I was going to wait till the middle of the podcast to bring this up so the most people would see it. But let me bring this up real quick here. The only thing right now about Arsenal that's kind of upsetting right now, and it's got nothing to do with Arsenal, is something that happened last night, and it's really kind of taken us for a ride a little bit. Last night, if you haven't seen my tweets online, Our home pub here in Northern Virginia is called Ireland's Four Courts, and it's been the home pub for the Northern Virginia and DC Gooners, one of the home pubs for years and years and years. I watched the FA Cup wins there, and I was just there last week. And last night, a driver, we don't know whether this was intentional, alcohol related, speed related, medical issue related, we don't know yet, but a car basically, it's on like a T intersection, and it's right here, and a car was driving down this road and just didn't turn and went directly into the restaurant and caught on fire. And yeah, I mean, it's what I heard about it. This is the pub in its normal condition, and then this was the scene here last night. Just, I mean, the place is gutted right now. It from people that were in there, and we have, very close relationships with the staff, the bartenders, the owner, the manager, and a few people that I know were there and said it was like a bomb had exploded, and like blew the back doors open because the car came in at about 50 miles an hour. You can't see the car because it's completely inside.
And nobody was hurt.
Apparently, there were about 14 people who had some level of injuries, 4 that had to be hospitalized for more serious injuries. No deaths. Unbelievable. It was a Friday afternoon where it was a lighter crowd than normal. This is from the inside. That seat right there at the table that you can see kind of in the middle of the screen. My friend last week, one of my friends that I met on the Baltimore tour, he was a journalist and was covering it for media, but his name was Guy. He's actually the person who took the video of me interviewing Matt Turner. He came to visit, and he was sitting in that seat right there last week during the Arsenal game. And it just, again, the people that were there, it's horrifying. It's dreadful. I guess it's human nature to think back, because it happened on a Friday at about 5:00, to think back to, 1 week earlier, we were all there celebrating the Arsenal win in that area where all the people are and the car is. That was the corner of the bar where Bayern Munich fans were watching their game. And there were probably 25 of them in that area. And last night there were maybe 4 or 5. And those are the ones that got hurt. I cannot even imagine if it had been last week or a week like last week on a Friday afternoon, what kind of carnage there would have been. And, my prayers are out to everybody there. The loss of life, or the lack of it, is a godsend. And, we are obviously, there's already been outpourings of support from the fan club that we meet with there, from the local fan clubs, from all of the Arsenal America supporters clubs, from, around the world. We're not quite clear yet, and I'm trying to stay as close as I can to what's happening, but also not rush to some sort of, I'm not putting up a GoFundMe, because we don't know what those funds will and can be used for. And I want to make sure, I'm in insurance, so I do know that when stuff like this happens, there's
Is
kind
he
of
one of your clients?
No, and it's crazy. I've talked. I mean, I don't do that type of insurance, but my colleagues do. But I just kind of been we've been putting off talking to him about it. So it's not that he doesn't have it. I'm sure he's properly covered. They're smart people, but there's kind of an order that things have to be done, and I don't want to just throw money at the problem. I do want to get an understanding of where they need help, what they need physically, what they need, what the servers need who are missing out on their tips. That's more than likely where fundraising will come into play. But please follow Gooners, the Gooners pod, because there will be some efforts made to help the people out there, because they have been very, very good to us. And this is just kind of an unspeakable thing that happened last night. And I was just in shock about it. So yeah,
incredibly sobering moment. We all have to remember, like, at any moment, like, we're all on this rock together, and something could happen, whether it be, to those people you don't like, or whether it happens to family that you've loved for a long time. Take care and hold tight those people that matter to you, because that's what, this is the sort of thing that happens. I'm really glad to hear, though, Mike, because obviously, you being the incredible person you are, I know that you'll be more than involved in the recovery and anything that, the Gooner family, we can get together. The one thing I can say is our family is the strongest family in the world, and
Absolutely.
they will definitely come in and do what we can to make sure you guys, if you guys are all listening, if you guys are in the area, make sure you're following Mike.
Yeah, and I put something on Twitter before. I mean, let's show them moral support now, and then very, very shortly we're going to need other kinds of support, and I will try to be one of the people. I mean, I'm not a self-designated leader of any kind. I just care about it a lot, and so I will be one of, I'm sure, a number of people who are trying to help these folks out. And yeah, it's like one of these sliding door moments. I mean, you just same time 7 days earlier, I would have been hurt or killed, along with a lot of my friends and people that are close to me and a lot of other people. You never know most of the time that, what you were 10 minutes away from. My mom always tells a story about how, she's late for stuff and then she'll be on the highway and she'll see an accident that she would have been in if she, I mean, you just never know. And that's why life is such a precious thing. So, anyway, didn't want to bring down the post-game environment so much, but I'm glad you did mention that. I had planned on bringing that up. And again, please follow the Gooners Pod if you're not already. If you want to be able to help out in some way, shape, or form, even with moral support from afar, that's helpful. So, on that note, Daniel, now you're going to come in and make a bunch of fantasy Premier League jokes and talk about how many times you captained Gabby Jesus and
maybe. I mean, firstly, I just want to put my thoughts out to everyone affected in that horrific event, and yeah, really shocking news to hear.
Yeah,
but
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I didn't captain Jesus, unfortunately.
No.
I'm sure you're really disappointed in that.
Well, I'm good. Am I going to be more disappointed when I find out who you did captain?
Mo Salah. I'm not.
That's the one person, for some reason, in all of my examples of why I hate fantasy Premier League, he's the one that people are. So I can't wait. I mean, Monday, are you just going to be glued to your television, so excited for Mo Salah to do well?
Who are they playing today?
Well, they're
Crystal
playing Palace, so we've obviously done 2-0 against them. So you never know. Anyway,
that's the fantasy Premier League talk of the day. We're done.
Exactly. But I mean, speaking of Jesus, I do want to bring him up. I just thought he was just unbelievable again. I mean, he was good against Palace, but today was something else. Like, he not just the goals and assists, he's always there. He gets involved. He makes other players around him better as well. Someone like Martinelli, I think, again, unreal today, and I think it's partly to do with how good Jesus is. And the kind of connection between those two Brazilians is just something else as well. And what's good to see is that if Saka is having a quiet game, which he did, I think, we've got other players who can kind of.
Is it physically possible for 6 people to have 10, 9 or 10 out of 10 perform? I mean, there's always going to be someone that they're like, you know what, we didn't see much of that person today. But
exactly, I seem to remember last game it was Odegaard. Everyone was kind of having a thing that he wasn't so good. Today will probably maybe be Saka or Saliba with the own goal. But they were actually with Saliba. I think when he got that own goal, after that his head was up, and I think he played really well.
I've heard a lot of people try to spin the own goal, and this kind of talks about where we're a little different. If that was Mustafi, and this was a few years ago, that entire stadium would have turned on him, right?
Well, because he would have had his hand up looking for someone to blame, and
like this, a little bit of this. But today, what we saw is not only did we all back him, I had a lot of people saying, you know what? It's actually a little good that they got that out, because they wanted to say, like, we've had this air of perfection from the back line. We've bigged up Saliba to be just like this god among men, and reminding him that he's mortal, that he's got more levels to go, that this is the Premier League, that you are not the finished product yet. You're not Rio Ferdinand yet, contrary to what the pundits might see. Do you think that that's a good thing, that he'll use that? Or do you think this is the sort of thing that he doesn't even think about, he just lets it go?
I mean, according to Arteta, I think he's quite grounded, and he obviously knows what's going on around him. But I think he's grounded in the point that he needs to play. He needs to get minutes, and he's only going to get better. And yeah, I think I'd much rather Saliba be making mistakes in games that we win, because had that goal been the equaliser or the goal we lost, then it's a different story. But actually, I think he had a very good game. Apart from that slight error, it was a bit of a freak accident, that kind of thing.
And kudos to the
question
supporters
for you.
picking him up.
Question for you. So Saliba does the madness, right? We now have Tomiyasu fit. Are we in an era of ruthlessness where would you be willing to put Ben White there, or would you continue on with Saliba?
It's a very difficult one. I think I'd continue with Saliba, but we've seen Arteta take Tavares out the firing line, and something like that. It's interesting to see. We've got so many players that can play in different positions, but if I were Arteta, I'd stay with Saliba and Gabriel. I'd even stay with Ben White. I wouldn't bring in Tomiyasu just yet, because I don't think we need to.
Was that even a moment of madness from? And I think you said your reference, Aston, to madness was talking about how well he's playing, not the own goal, or did you mean the own goal?
Oh no, I meant the own goal.
Oh, okay. Because I don't see that as a moment of madness. I mean, he had Vardy basically tracking down that through ball. What I see it as was he didn't get enough on it to steer it around the goal. But it was essentially a last ditch tackle. It was just with his head. And I look at it, maybe this is, again, it's the confirmation bias of whether you like the player or whether you give them the benefit of the doubt or not. People always kind of give Saka the benefit of the doubt when they do things then other players don't get. But I think it was an unfortunate mistake. I don't think it was a miscommunication with Ramsdale. I don't think it was bad goalkeeping from Ramsdale. I don't think it was necessarily an awful play from Saliba. It happened, and it certainly isn't something that I think is cause to consider whether you should be taking him out or not. And starting in less than a month, we have 2 games a week, and Ben White will have his time in center back. The best thing that can happen is Tomiyasu's healthy, so that the Ben White versus Tomiyasu thing versus Ben White versus Saliba doesn't have to be an issue. We can interchange them.
Exactly. I was just going to say, yeah, it's great to have all these players. I much prefer having to worry about do we play this player or this player rather than Mustafi and Socrates. So,
yeah, I mean it's incredible what we're dealing with as far as the people that are on the bench versus who we had on the bench and the pitch 2 seasons ago. Talk about a process. That is the process, and now the results hopefully will come, and so far they have. Your man of the match, and then we're gonna go back to Fergus real quick, and then try to catch Rob before we go. I have a hard stop at about 10 after 7 tonight because I got to go pick up the Mustang. And bring it back. So prepare for some ridiculous looking pictures of me in a convertible coming in a few hours. And I apologize to Fergus in advance that it's not a BMW. We did look at it. But sometimes you gotta save the money. Daniel, you're man of the match for today.
I partly don't want to pick out an individual because I kind of want to see Arteta, because every time we conceded, we scored straight away, and that just shows the unity of the whole team. And I don't necessarily want to go player by player because I think all of them together just showed so much more than we could hope for. But I mean, if I had to pick one, Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, popular pick, not my pick, but how could you not have him in the running? Or 2 goals, 2 assists, 2 goals, 2 assists. Could have been 3 goals, could have been 5 goals. And that turn. I would just like to as long as we're giving moments of silence and prayers and thoughts to people who truly deserve them. Johnny Evans. I feel terrible for his family, for his brethren, for his heirs, because that he got absolutely abused.
Yeah, and indeed he did. He did accidentally as well.
Yes, but my God, if that had been a goal, I was so devastated that was saved, just because that might have been close to Dennis Bergkamp.
Their keeper actually quietly had a good game.
Yeah, he did. Well, I mean, he made one pretty big mistake, I'd say.
Yeah.
But beyond that, yeah. I mean, other than the play, Mrs. Lincoln. All right, Daniel. Thanks a lot, man. Hope to see you soon. And
Cheers.
I mean
Have a good one.
both figuratively and literally. Are we going to see you for the live show? Are you?
I wish I could, but I'm just coming back from holiday. I think the day before, so I'm not entirely sure.
Well, I mean, you're not a footballer. You don't need like a week to get into condition. But anyway, I understand. I won't delve into your personal life. I won't delve into your personal life. I'll get a steak that you can cough on, and then we'll be all fine. So,
of course.
Daniel, you and I just keep going back to the same things from a year ago. I love you, man. Take care, bud.
Of course. See ya. Bye.
All right, let's try this again. Are you in just planes, trains, and automobiles now?
In a limousine now, you know what I mean? That's how I rolled.
Is it a BMW limousine or a Mustang?
It's an uber cool car, so it's a Prius.
All right. So you're the cool guy in the Uber doing media now.
Yeah, because that's how I roll.
Well, you're
just to clarify, the hearts, the kisses, the loves, and everything. Granit Xhaka was. Am I here?
You're kind of back. You're kind of back.
Yeah. The love, hearts, kisses, and everything else from Granit Xhaka was not to the North Bank. It wasn't a club. It wasn't to upper North Bank. It was to his wife and his daughter just above us in Block 5 and Block 6. So, yeah. The love hasn't changed. The love
way to ruin the way to ruin the moment, man.
Yeah, but it's a reality moment. Like a reality show, which I've really enjoyed, has portrayed him as very much a family man. But for fans like me, our attitude hasn't changed about the guy. The guy disrespected the club, disrespected the armband. So for me, he's wearing an Arsenal shirt. I'll support him, but that's it. He can blow all the love, hearts, and kisses to his missus all he wants. But he scored a great goal today. So on that basis, fantastic. And Jesus, why he didn't get a hat trick, I'll never know. It was a sublime game to watch. Unfortunate to concede two sloppy goals, especially the Saliba one. Just looked like a lot of confusion between Saliba and Ramsdale. But listen, 3 points in the table. We move up and we move on. So I'm really chuffed. I did have loads of beers beforehand.
So Fergus, you're sitting there talking about Xhaka. Why don't we talk about somebody that was playing in Xhaka's space, probably a little better than we've seen him play recently, in Zinchenko. What'd you think of him?
First time his name's been mentioned, and I can't believe that.
Zinchenko. Oh, yeah, we were singing his name all day. Zinchenko was outstanding at Palace on Friday, last Friday night. He was also instrumental today. You know what? The player I didn't even hardly notice half the time was Saka, because Jesus, Zinchenko, and all the other players, Martinelli, were just dragged in. But that's where I think the quality with Jesus and Zinchenko have raised us up that level and raised the players up to that level, that the players were so heavily dependent on last season can take a little bit of a back seat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and in any given game, if you have the amount of touches that Martinelli, Xhaka, and Jesus has, kind of almost like a triangle, they were just possessing the ball the entire time to great effect, which you can't just force another player to get that many touches when the ball's on the left side of the pitch that often. I mean, Saka was fine. He was good. He did everything that was asked of him.
He did his job, but normally we're so dependent. Get the ball out to Saka, get the ball to Smith Rowe, get the ball. But it's great to have options. We haven't had options for 18 months, and now we have. One thing before, because I'm conscious you're talking about time, and I'm about to arrive at the pub in a few minutes.
Which one are you going to? Torrington, right?
No. I'm back.
Oh, you're back in.
As they say.
You're local. Well.
My local pub. The atmosphere within the stadium today, before, after, during, throughout, on the tube lines on the way home, even as far as Octus Circus, there's people and Stratford, there's people on the tube lines singing Zinchenko's song, singing Arteta's song. There is such a different belief. It might be the documentary, it might be follow on from last season, but there's something that's definitely brewing within the Arsenal fan base.
It was already starting there. I think I don't know that it's the documentary as much as it is the preseason.
Yeah.
You know, even watching it from afar over where you guys were, and you know, being able to watch it more up close where we were, it was just it's continuing to feed off of itself. And I think, I mean, I just want next week to go smoothly at Bournemouth, because then after that, I'm over for the next 3, and I cannot wait.
You lucky son of a bitch.
I'm not going to ruin it.
Mike, even Posse was getting positive.
You know, I was wondering about that. I'm like you. Yes, there are things that you could take if you really, really need to. There are things you could take from this game about Ramsdale, about the own goal, about a couple of other things. You could take those things, but you can't take those things as your first and biggest issues and speeches about the game today without really exposing yourself as having a narrative. And so if Potsy was positive about today, it didn't just go on those things, then positives to him. I'm pretty sure someone else I know isn't going to do that.
I didn't see him afterwards because he had other media work to do. He didn't have a limousine like me, so like, you know.
So Fergus, speaking of narrative,
I've even got red leather in here. You know, that's
who's with you? Who's with you today?
Yeah, who you got in there?
Luke is with me. Say hello, Luke. Hi.
Hey, what's up, Luke? Did you just meet him today at the game?
No. Luke, I've known Luke since Luke was about 3. So yeah, he went to his away games. Guys, I'm gonna let you love you and leave.
All right, mate. Take care. Enjoy.
Man of the match was Jesus.
That is Fergus from the first he was in the tube, then he was on the tube, then he was in a car. Soon he'll be on a car. Speaking of on a car and a man who wears a hat, I don't know where that came from. Robbie Ford. Rob, what's up, my friend? Wearing the vintage Montreal Expos hat.
That's correct.
Can you tilt your thing down a little bit so we can see that beautiful face? Not the hat, your computer. There you go.
Well, man. You know, we could do multiples. It doesn't matter. I'll tilt it back, forth, the hat, the computer.
You got the face. It's been a while since I've seen you, my friend. You've got the facial hair going. You've got like what I have going. Except it's better on you.
Wait, sorry, again?
I said you've got like what I'm trying to do, except it actually looks good on you.
I mean, honestly, I want to go. I mean, I know this is like vintage last year, but I'm kind of trying to figure out how I could shape this into a locket set type situation. But I mean, the man had a good beard, even if he couldn't turn, faster than Jupiter. I mean, he still had a good beard.
Let's give credit where credit's due, and I'm seeing some man of the matches show up in the chat already. Let's highlight those and keep them coming. If you're in the chat, we want to hear who your man of the match is. To me, it's not even that. It's not an easy decision between 3 people today. Rob, first of all, as one of my fellow Arlington Gooners at times, someone who spent a lot of time with me at the pub today, how you feeling, man? I mean, we've talked offline about it, but
yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm still in shock over like what happened. I mean, just something so traumatic, and and again, I was keeping the staff and those injured in my prayers, because I mean, that it's a local. It's somewhere I've gone a lot too, and I kind of have 2 locals in the DC area, but that's one I patronize quite a bit. And as Mike pointed out, I mean, the location which we are usually, I mean, it's frightening to think about.
We're right at the front, and I mean, if you look at those pictures from from where the car actually came in, that's where the Bayern Munich fans are now, frankly. And I don't even want this to be taken out of context. That's where the Spurs fans are on a normal basis. They're right in that corner of the pub, which is the front corner of the pub, and then right behind that is where usually all of us are. And it's hard to imagine what the scene would have been like if that place had football fans in mass in that area, and instead of apparently what was a company happy hour with 5 or 6 people, 4 of who were seriously injured, and we're certainly hoping we'll be okay. But anyway, just crazy. And like Aston said before, you never know when your time is coming. It doesn't always get preceded by 10 months of illness or 2 years of illness or bad decisions. It sometimes can just be like that. So
In a moment, yeah.
So on the game today,
So we've talked about a lot of players, and you guys are talking about hair, so I've got to go to Arteta. What do you feel about Arteta now? Like, I mean, I know it's just a preseason. I know it's just 2 games, and 2 games against teams that we are expected to win, even though Crystal Palace is obviously a bit of a bogey team for the top 6. How are you feeling about what you're seeing from Arteta?
So I will say I'm probably colored a little bit by the documentary on this one, but I mean, I guess watching that, I saw that he has a lot more emotional intelligence than I give him credit for. And as one of the assistants pointed out in one of the earlier episodes, he has to grow into the role. And it seems like he's been doing it on a game by game basis, even like, setbacks and stuff like that. But I mean, the resilience, I think, is starting to rub off on the team a little bit. I mean, we did, as you pointed out, we didn't keep our heads down after the Saliba goal. We didn't put our heads down after the Madison effort and stuff like that. I mean, we picked right up and we got 2 goals after 2 concessions. I mean, I don't know that we were, doing that last year. And I mean, I think it's a testament to
we were doing that in reverse. Yeah, I called it the reverse Arsenal, because normally when we score, we give up a goal, and now we figured out how to flip it around a little bit, which is great.
Hopefully, it's not like the reverse Cowboy, but
no, Cowboy's pretty fun too, though. I mean, that is of all the positions, the 8, the 9, the
reverse Cowboy is the most important to the team.
The reverse Cowboy is the position that we needed the most work on over the offseason. I think
I actually heard Edu was going. I heard Edu was going to the market to reverse Cowboy. I was like, really? He was going all the way to Brazil. He's like, I'm going to reverse Cowboy all these people.
Despite
I guess that explains the genes.
Despite the loss of Bern Leno's wife, reverse Cowboy has improved on our team. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah, I mean, you're man of the match today, Robbie.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, honestly, you want to give the whole 11 like man of the match, but I mean, honestly, it's Gabby Jesus. I think the thing I've been most impressed with about him is not necessarily the galactic level talent, but also his work rate and his intelligence are just so sharp and so voracious. His work rate. I mean, he is just motivated, and he goes like 150% all the time out there to get into these spots that help the team out on their an offensive push. So I have to go. I mean, I have to go with Gabby Jesus, but I mean, Zinchenko again was up there today. Martinelli, just astounding. I mean, really, it's those 3, but I hate to go with everybody else in the flow, but it's got to be Gabby Jesus. Work rate and intelligence. That's what I'm basing it on.
He is every bit, and I tend to repeat myself a lot, especially when I end up being on target with things. But the timing in his career, the scenario he came from, and what he has become very quickly is exactly like Alexis Sanchez when he came here, except for the fact that I think Gabby Jesus isn't just going to lead by being an otherworldly world-class talent by himself. He is going to make, and already has made, 5 or 6 players on this team better. He's making Nketiah better. He's making Martinelli better. He's giving Odegaard everything he wanted to play with, like a little kid on his birthday. I mean, every single player on this team, especially in the attack, is going to benefit from what he brings to the team, which wasn't necessarily the case when it was just the Ozil and Alexis show. And that's why I think this is a more sustainable thing than when we bought those 2 guys and were really kind of loving their early career at Arsenal.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Go Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna. I mean, I was gonna also add that. I mean, you mentioned Alexis, but also I would say I would say more so than Alexis is Gabby's distribution. I mean, I think those 2 assists were indicative of that. So.
Yeah, Alexa's had a lot of assists. What I love is like what we're talking about is the soft factors, right? We're not just talking about, yes, is he an incredibly technically gifted player? Absolutely. But we can already see him and Martinelli are starting a competition. They both have to get on that Brazil team, and you can see him. He's like, oh no, Martinelli, you're 1 goal up. Hell no. And then he goes 2 goals up, and then Martinelli's like, no, you're not leaving me in the dust.
Is it possible Neymar doesn't necessarily have to be on that team? And those 2 get on together. I mean,
right. For the first time I think I've ever seen, Martinelli looked up and saw Gabby Jesus running and goes, oh shit, there's somebody else on the team that runs more than me. I need to run more. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's an incredible boost to the team, and you love to see it right through. The biggest thing is the level of excellence has risen, right? The animal instincts, the predatory nature. You're starting to see people like Xhaka get into the box because we're predators now, and I think a lot of that has to be due with Jesus. What do you think, Rob?
I definitely think so. I mean, he's more direct, he's more incisive. Again, his work rate, control, his intelligence are really spurring on that front 4 in terms of what we're looking for to do inside the box and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, I love his influence on the team. I mean, and again, you can't discount Zinchenko and his directness in terms of the passing and stuff like that, pushing the team from the back and stuff. And it's even allowed Xhaka to push up into more of a higher box-to-box player than he has been before in the Premier League. I mean, it's the kind of stuff he was doing in Germany with Gladbach. So I mean,
Jake and I were like, we kept pointing out, like, one of us would see how far up the pitch Xhaka was, and we were like, look, and he wasn't getting caught up the pitch. He was just allowed to be there because of the people behind him. What do you think, Rob, of Mark's comment? Johnny Evans got turned like a donor.
I mean, I said
loves himself some doner kebab.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, multiple places in London.
He likes himself some donors. He likes himself some shish. He loves himself,
rib tips. I mean, it's all good. I mean, my combo is that he got smoked like a European sausage. I mean, be it like Bavarian or Polish or whatnot. Like,
there we go.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he just, the sweet savory smoke smell is still emanating from him in the dressing room at this point.
Before I forget, we talked about I can only imagine, Tiff, how great Finn McCool's was. Before I forget, we talk about Saka's kind of quiet day, but let's not forget his pass that Xhaka got on the end of and headed it into the post, very nearly snuck in near post early in the game for the first goal. That was, I mean, an amazing vision to make that pass and then have Xhaka be on the end of it. That's kind of when I knew Xhaka was in for a special day. I mean, it was
going back to the Saka thing that I think is great is we've relied on him for so long, and we all know this. But the thing is like, the best players are players that create these moments, and our over reliance on Saka to make all the moments has made it so that obviously everybody knows that we're so lopsided. But now with the space that's being created, like you were saying, it's not just in the opening. I think somewhere in the second half, I saw Saka popping up on the left-hand side, and he crosses the ball, and he almost gets, we're in again. And these are the things that these small little upgrades kind of feel like that reverberate through the team. There's a lot of, and honestly, we haven't even seen our team at their highest level of chemistry yet. We're still learning how Jesus plays. I am so gassed for what's coming, what's yet to come. You know what I mean?
I still have this little like every time it's I don't want to say PTSD. Well, I just did. It's this historical thing of, just when we think we've turned the corner, then we go and put out an effort like we did against Newcastle or Everton last year. And while I believe that the foundation of what we're seeing now is drastically different than the foundation of the teams that was happening to, I'm still maybe it's because I'm headed over there and I just don't want the cracks to start happening. Like what I'm seeing with Manchester United right now, match day 6 is Manchester United, and it's the last game that I'll be at. And I want to go to Old Trafford and have like the epicest away day ever. So I don't want them to figure it out, but there's a lot of time between now and then. But the entirety of the infrastructure of what we're seeing, the foundation, infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, is different. We don't have a year under our belt of knowing that and drawing from that, from a player perspective in the past. So until we do, this is all just going to be new. And will we overachieve this year? I mean, overachieving would be like second or first. I think properly achieving would be fourth or third. But there's every possibility this club has something special in it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Man of the match is for the chat, and then I'm going to go to you, Aston, and then and I've pretty much already spoiled mine. But Tiffany Campo has Xhaka as her man of the match. Sean has Martinelli as his man of the match. Arnie has Martinelli as man of the match. Daniel already gave us Arteta as his man of the match. Who else do we have? Anybody else? I'm going to assume that BX Gunner thinks it was Jesus by that comment. But yeah, Aston, have you placed the actual award around somebody's neck? Does it go around somebody's neck?
That's a little weird. That's a little weird. Like that has a lot of like collar kind of fetish kind of like vibes to it, and I mean I'm into it. But I have to say I have to go with the crowd, and I have to give it away Jesus because besides smoked sausage and kebabs, he absolutely filleted Leicester today, and we're gonna have to start wearing we're gonna have to start wearing red hats instead of MAGA. It's gonna be MATA. Make Arsenal delicious again. Okay, it's great.
Oh, and McTominay just got a yellow card. I didn't realize that was a thing that could happen.
Yep. The best part, did you see the butcher got subbed out? The butcher got subbed out.
They took his knives away.
Right now, I am so happy that we don't have the butcher or Monchi anywhere near our team. Those are the two people I've had the hardest desire to get just because of their names, and apparently we dodged a bullet with. I mean, Monchi apparently is still pretty good, but. Oh, the butcher. Apparently he sucks. I'm going with Martinelli, even though I'm showing respect for the play that Xhaka had today. If I'm doing player ratings, Martinelli was a 10 out of 10 for me. Jesus was like a 9.5. Xhaka 9. And it's crazy when Alexander Zinchenko can have the game that he had today and be the fourth best player on the pitch. But who scored's player ratings have Jesus with a 9, Martinelli with an 8.
We've not even said Partey's name today.
Well, and I don't really know that it needs to be said today, not for the normal reason, but just because he kind of was there. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great. But yeah, Jesus at a 9, Martinelli at an 8, Xhaka at a 7.8, Partey 7.2, Saka 6.9, and Zinchenko 6.7. But obviously that's more kind of stat based than eye test based. But unbelievable day, and we love what's happening here. Next week, I will be in Harrisonburg, just having said goodbye to my son. I doubt I'm going to do a post-game podcast from wherever I end up watching the game down there, and just wish me the best because this is going to be the hardest week of my life, I think.
Would it make it? Will it make it any better if I just start sleeping in Jake's bed for you?
It would make it a little bit better.
And I mean, I'm close by too. I mean, I certainly can accommodate when Aston's not able to.
I'm used to having, BOD. I'm used to having Buddy on demand, and it's going to be an adjustment for me. Let me tell you that much. But you get to see the deconstruction of a man losing his son to college, like as we go through the season. Anyway, let's end it on a high note. Arsenal joint second. We're going undefeated. We're getting 114 points. We're winning all the Ballon d'Ors that there are on offer, and that's what's going to happen. So, thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. Fergus from various automobile and various transportation vehicles. Sorry, I thought Brentford was about to score again. Thank you to Rob for joining us. Thanks for Aston for being my my homie. Bet.
Real quick, if you guys don't mind, quick shameless plug. You see my Twitter there at Gooner Aston. After, during, and before games, if you're not in London, and even if you're in London, send pictures to my Twitter. I'll go ahead and do a post every single week where I want to see where you're watching the game. I want to see your little Islington. So please show us the support so we can show everyone why, like, undeniably, we're the best fans in the world of any sport ever.
Bet.